All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for spending some of your downtime with me this holiday. I know a lot of us are on holiday, some are not, but today is Saturday anyway. So I know you could be anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to spend some time just to pause and just as the end of the year is busy, those of us are in Nigeria are having fun, those of us are here, we're just chilling. We're just creating this space for us to pause without pressure and try to plan for the next year, 2026. I do this periodically. Well, I won't boast that I do vision boarding all the time. I actually started vision boarding in 2019, just the year before I came to Canada. And I remember vividly that just like I did share on my Instagram, a friend of mine also shared on our Instagram and said, who is interested in vision boarding in a vision boarding party? And I didn't know what it was. I know I'd always been hearing about vision boarding, but I thought it was one of those things that people that had that like get put together that it would do. It was a nice to have, but I'd never done it, to be honest. So I said yes to it, just like I do to a lot of things that I just stumbled upon. And the rest is history because we had a room full of, it was somewhere in Ikeja, Akidimbi, a room full of women, mostly women are the ones that do these things on behalf of their family. We had a room full of people, women mostly, who came together. There was cardboards. It was a paid event because the lady had to buy us like cardboards and there were felt pens, there were different things. And we had magazines, we had scissors, and we sat down all together in the room to actually create the vision of that year, what 2020 would look like for us. And I have the cardboard. I remember I moved to Canada February 2020, and I came with that cardboard. I pasted it at the back on my wall in my home office at the time, and I was looking at it every time. And I can confidently say that 70 to 70% of what I had on that board actually came to pass because no one, at the end of the day, in 2020, no one actually predicted that we're going to have a pandemic. So that goes to show that a vision board isn't a prediction of what the next year is going to be or some kind of forecast or what's maybe it can be a forecast. It's just kind of is you having clarity of what you want the next year to look like for you. And then no matter what happens within the year, if life starts to life, we say that a lot in our community, you know that you have some kind of guardrails and you have some kind of clarity of what your destination will look like. So the journey might not actually look like what you envisage because nobody actually knows tomorrow, only God. But just having clarity of what the picture of the new year or the picture of the in this case 2026, the picture of the end this time next year, what the picture of what that year will look like for you is such a good place to be starting the new year. So I have some slides that I created. If you just joined, put in the chat I put on the chat a link to the workbook. So let me know if you have any challenge accessing the workbook. Let me know. Otherwise, just leave it open. I'll tell you when to start to look into it because I want it to be I don't want to be a one-sided conversation. It's not a work. It's a workshop. It's not a webinar or like a course or something, masterclass. No, this is just us. We're going to work together as a team on this call and just build build on the year, map out our 2026, how we want the year to be for us. So let me share my screen. Okay, I see it now. Okay, all right, cool. We have a worksheet in the chat, yeah, and I've done my welcome, I've done all that. So I think, as I said earlier, we're not going to the end game is not to create a very fancy projection or future for 2026, but we're just going to calm down and reflect and just have clarity on what the next year is going to look like for us. So so why vision mapping? I said that earlier, I did that in 2019. Okay. So we just want to get clarity on what the next year will look like. So if you know me, I love frameworks. So the reason why I do love framework is no matter what you know, no matter where you are in life, like if you're in an interview, for those of us that interview a lot, we use smarts. Some of us use other frameworks for public speaking, for storytelling. Today, the framework we're going to use today is reflect, clarify, and commit. And if you have your workbook opened, you'll see some tabs that have reflect, clarify, and commit. I don't know, can I see like emojis if you have your workbook opened, if you don't mind? I just need to know that I'm talking to people and then you guys are present. You're not like in the car driving and then I'm just talking. I don't know. I don't really see. Let me do this. Let me stop sharing. I see. Do you guys have your workbook opened? No comments. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I see that. Okay. Yeah, Bookie, you have your workbook opened. Okay, great. Maybe I won't share the slides. I will just be talking so I can see people. I can see. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chiazo. Okay. So I spoke about a framework, reflect, clarify, and commit. And these are simple steps. We're going to take it one step at a time. We'll create a foundation. We'll build a foundation in reflect. Then we'll clarify. And then the actual commitment to ourselves is the commit part of it. And I'll take you through everything. So in your workbook, can you click on begin your journey? Yes. Can you click on begin your journey? And basically what reflects what we're going to do at the point of reflection. I have some tools in my toolkit that I personally use that I would recommend. The very first one, for those of us that love taking pictures, your camera roll is full of your experience of 2025. I want us to take a minute or a few minutes to go through our camera roll, look at the pictures, and when you go through your camera roll, I wish I could share as I'm doing it, but I'm using my phone for Instagram. Go through your camera roll and filter for 2025. That's this year that we are right now. Most of our phones are smartphones, so we can do that. And when you filter for 2025, I want you to pay attention to all the experiences that you had in 2025. The good, the bad, and the ugly. If you didn't have ugly, praise the Lord for you. So look through your camera roll and look at the pictures that you have on your camera roll and think about this question. I'm going to prompt you with these questions. What images bring a smile to your face on your camera roll? And I've done this exercise and it was really, really fascinating to me because at the time you were just taking pictures, you're living your life, you're living the experiences. But now we want to take time to reflect upon those experiences of 2025. What images bring a smile to your face? If you think about the pictures that bring smile to your face, I want you to think about what you were doing at those times. What were you doing when you had smile on your face? Who were you with at those times? I wanted to put some notes in the box below. While you're doing that, did you come across any photos from 2025 that remind you of some challenging times when life was lifing? And do those photos, what was happening in your life during those periods of your life? I want you to capture them. I would say that if you have a lot of experiences from this year, you might not be able to complete all of this, but this is just the start of something amazing. I expect you to go back after this call to actually take time to look critically at your experience of 2025. But I want us to walk through this workbook together now. Next prompt is, did your year take any unexpected turns? Were they losses? Were they gains? Did you get a promotion? Did you get a new job? Did you start a new job? While we're doing that, I recognize that not everybody takes pictures like some of us. I take pictures for everything. But if you are one of those that don't take pictures, there are alternatives to this. You can reflect on your calendar, either your work calendar or your personal calendar. I know a lot of people that I speak with say that if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. So I hope you're one of those. At least you have things on your calendar. Maybe times you went away with your girls, with your family, when you went for a conversation with your manager. If you have things on your calendar, you can also reflect on your year through your calendar. And you ask yourself a question that what moment stood out for you in 2025 using your calendar? And what feelings arose during that period. Trying to be inclusive here. So for those of us who don't take pictures, you can use your calendar as a memory reflection. You can use your journal. I started to journal towards the end of this year, and I can tell you for free that sometimes when I look at my journal, I just smile because sometimes I'm in situations where I think it's so difficult. But then on the other side of it, I just look back and smile and say, "Oh my God, what was I thinking?" I came true. I came out of it. If you're one of those that do journal, a journal is a good place to reflect upon your year 2025. What story does 2025 tell you about who you are and what you value? If you observe reflection parts, giving you all these tools for my toolkit, is a foundation to the next stage of our framework. And basically, irrespective of what tool you use, the goal remains the same. You're reflecting upon the year 2025, highlighting the good, the bad, the ugly, or the excellent, or the amazing, whatever, verbal adjective you want to use, but it's just for you to reflect. And this is not a performance review for work or anything, but maybe look at it that way. You want to share how your year was to someone or to yourself. How would you frame it? I hope I'm making sense. Apologies, please. Guys, don't let me think I'm talking to myself. Still on reflect. Camera roll. journal, calendar. I think I have one other one. If you can't think, if you don't journal, if you don't have all that on your calendar, you might want to make divide your year into seasons. Think about the first part of the year, for example. Let's talk January to, let's say, early spring for those of us that are in the West. What was exciting about that part of your year? Did you attend seminars? Did you I know for a fact the first thing I did January of last year was to join a financial personal finance masterclass, and literally it changed the trajectory of my entire year. Not because I became richer, but I became intentional about everything finance in my life. What happened in the first season of your life, 2025? What happened in the middle season, summer? Did you go on vacation? Did you get together with family? Because family does matter. Did you have wonderful experiences? What exactly happened in the middle part of the year? And then think about the end of the year. So we're talking after summer till now. Did you get promoted at work? All that. Just saying all this to help you joggle your memory so that you can reflect upon how the year 2025 is for you, because we're still here, because we're going to design our 2026 based on the right foundation of reflection. Like, what should we carry into 2026? Because we shouldn't carry everything. We shouldn't carry the bad, ugly. We should carry the exciting parts of 2025. I hope you guys get me. When you look at your pictures, yeah, 2025 wrapped in pictures. I love that. And if you have subscriptions like Spotify, like LinkedIn, GPT, like all that, they've all saying they're wrapped. That's a good indication. That's a good place to start when it comes to what your 2025 looked like. Thanks for that. Right. So the next phase for us, or the next part of the next stage of the framework, is to clarify. Now we've done our reflection using whatever tool is okay for us. Now we want to clarify from experience to values. Reflection shows us what happened. Clarity helps us decide what matters. This is where we move from observation to intention. On my slide, sorry, I'm not sharing because I only have one screen. Sorry. I had reflection becomes insight. What do your choices reveal? You name what matters to you, and you also identify the values that guide your decisions. On your workbook, I have here that I want you to continue to, and then we still have stuff under reflection. So I want you to take that away and you can fill up that. It will help you in mapping 2026, but I don't want us to do all that today. I don't want us to rush into things because a lot of thinking goes into all this actually. It's not something I can do within 1 hour of your time. I want us to move over to, on our workbook, I want us to move over to clarify. I want us to move over to clarify. And here, I know if you are very conversant with, what's it called, visual mapping, you will realize that most times people actually divide aspects of your life in different quadrants. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a vision map or vision board. You see people do things like faith, family, and all that, and health, fitness, relationships. They always have all those quadrants, and then in those quadrants, they now start to write what they want the new year to look like for each of those quadrants. So for the purpose of clarification, those quadrants that most of us are familiar with are called life domains. So you have different areas of your life, like your career, which is very important, for you, your relationships with your friends, your people that you collaborate with, your family, your church, your community is important. I'm just saying this so that I can give you guys ideas of what each of these domains mean. And you have it in your workbook too. You have your health. So typically health is where you have fitness. I want to lose weight, which is one of the most popular goals that people keep coming back to every year on their vision board. Want to lose weight, you want to eat healthy, you want to be more active, those kind of things. So it's typically under the health domain. And you have the faith domain where people say, I want to be closer to God, I want to read the Bible in 1 year, I want to read the Quran in 1 year, I want to pray 5 times a day as a Muslim, I want, all that kind of thing is under faith, and then so on and so forth. So I want us to divide things in domains. So if based on this explanation, you can go ahead and divide your life in different domains. I'll pause for a minute. Okay. And please, can you repeat the last question on domain? So I said that if you have the workbook opened, if you do, Sandra, you would look, if you click on continue to section 2, clarify, you'll see the part where we talked about domains and values. And so basically, I was explaining that people usually have their life segmented in different domains. So most people will have career, they will have family, they will have faith, they will have, friendships, they will have relationship. So if you can based on the pictures that you saw on your camera roll, let's say you use the camera roll tool, how can you define your life in domains? Like what are those exciting things? What are those exciting parts of your life? Is it faith? Is it family? Is it health and fitness? Those kind of things. That's what I was saying. And you have in your workbook, it will guide you. And then sometimes people always mistake domains for values. Domain is what I just described. However, value is how you show up as a person in those different domains. How do you show up as a person in that domain? So if you look at your workbook, so let's say your domain is career, for example. A lot of us are professional. I know a lot of you on this call. So your values, how do you in under your domain, you want to think about how you show up in your career. Are you trying to be more creative? Are you trying to move up to leadership? Are you trying to, make an impact in the space that you are? Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about when it comes to this. So if you have your domains defined, you will now want to start thinking about the values, how you want to show up in those individual domains. So if you want to jot them down, you can jot them down. Keep quiet for a minute. Let me see. So I'm gonna just read out loud some of the prompts that I have in the workbook, or especially those are on Instagram. So, what moments from 2025 felt most aligned with who I want to be? So, if you for those of us that do retro at work, it's like, what should I continue doing? And then when you think about that, then you also want to think about what felt misaligned or draining. Sometimes it could be friendship, it could be some of the things that you do at work that you just keep doing that didn't really yield, that you don't want to take into the new year. So you want to think about it, through from the reflection point, which is the foundation of where we started. And you want to ask yourself, if I could only focus on three things in 2026, what would they be? Three focus areas. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves. Experts always say, start with the little things. And when you're consistent with the little things, then it becomes a habit. It becomes part and parcel of you, and then you can keep getting better, keep adding things. So if you must focus on three things in 2026, what would they be? And then finally, what do I need to say no to in order to say yes to what matters? So I'm hoping that from your reflection point, you must have seen those things that made you think this year that you want to keep saying yes to, and then those things that didn't really yield results that you want to say no to. So you want to free up space by saying no to those things, and then saying yes to those things that excites you, that fills your cup up as a person. And it could be in any of your domains: your career, your faith, your relationships, and so on and so forth. Does this make sense, guys? Is it making sense? Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. So I don't want to go through all the reflections in the workbook. That's why we have the workbook. But I will just talk through it, and I'm hoping that when you and your quiet time while we're all chilling this holiday season, please don't just rest and watch Netflix and chill. Nope. Find some time to design the 2026 that you want. So I have examples in the workbook. Like for example, if you look at your life or relationship domain, the values, so the domain is relationships, and then values, we're talking connection, presence, authenticity, forgiveness, quality time. Over my head, I could think about this. So for my relationship, I will think about my family, the relationship with my family. I want to be more present. And you don't want to be generic about it. You want to, or with my husband, for example, we want to have at least one date night every other week. So two date nights per month. And that's one thing that we want to do. We've said it. We tried it out this year and it was so good. And we think that is something that we should take into the new year. So two date nights per year, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It could just be couch time in the house, watching our favorite show. It could be trying out a new restaurant or just going out and just, it could be anything. So it doesn't have to be expensive. But that's an example of a domain, which is relationship with my husband. And those are the things, and that is one thing that I want to take into the new year 2026. I hope it makes sense. For example, when you think about the faith domain, personally, before I became very intentional with my like living intentionally, I will always have a recurring thing on the faith. I want to be closer to God. Guys, please, let's deviate from that. I think that just having I want to be closer to God is so vague. that it's almost impossible to actually achieve that, because how do you measure your closeness to God? Is there a parameter? Are there metrics to actually measure your closeness to God? The answer is no. But if you look at it from a value point of view, when you think about faith, and I'm talking now because I'm a follower of Jesus, so I know that it could be different for Muslims or atheists or anybody that doesn't follow Jesus. But for the example I'll give is, I'd rather pick it from the point of value. I want to, I want to serve more, not only in church, but in my community, because that is what Jesus would do. That's what the Bible wants us to do. That's how you show yourself as a follower of Jesus. I want to give more, I want to show more gratitude, for example. It could be in you writing a gratitude journal once a week, just reflecting upon your week and just deciding that God has been good to me, because that's just the way you want to show your faith. So it's not just about putting a vague line saying that I want to be closer to God or I want to go to church more or something. Okay, that could be it though. I want to go to church more, could be it, but it's better to put I want to go to church at least 3 times a month, so that you just have one wiggle room of one Sunday, rather than just say I want to be closer to God. How do you measure your closeness to God? It's almost impossible to measure. So I hope that helps when you're putting you're putting down your values under the faith domain, for example. And the same applies to health and well-being. So it's not enough to say that I want to be more fit this year. That's so vague. You know, you want to put things that are realistic. So I want to move more this year. And so when you say you want to move more this year, you can put a time to it. So I remember this year I set a goal on my watch to move every day. It was 7,005. But this year I really smashed it so much. Reflecting now, I think that goal was too little and I need to up my game. So in the next year, maybe I'll add 500 to it. I make it 8,000. I'm not going to say 10K because I might not really achieve that. But those kind of things, you want to be very specific with whatever goal, I'm not, no, value you're putting under each of the domains that you're defining. I hope that helps. So I don't know if I'm still talking to people. I know we had a lot of technical issues here today, but I really do hope, because I feel this is so valuable, that if you take some time to pause to actually think through this prompt, you are able to design the 2026 you want with clarity, not a prediction, or we're not predicting because we're not God, but we are we are ensuring that we have clarity of purpose. So no matter which direction the journey takes us, we know where we are going as a people. Hi, Instagram. I know it seems weird what we're doing, but I'm on Zoom, so sorry about that. I'm not sharing the workbook here or anything. So I have a replay. I probably will share that, and then if anybody is interested in looking at it with the workbook, you can take your time to do that. Right, cool. What am I learning about myself? I want you to fill that up, not now. You can take time in your quiet space to actually do that. And this will really help you as you go into the new year. So the final bit of the framework is the commit part. And commit is not necessarily you setting goals. Like I want us to move away from their resolutions, because we all know that those resolutions, I don't know. What do you guys think about resolutions? Do you guys have, excuse me, do you write New Year resolution? Does anybody write New Year resolutions on this call? Yes, if you are comfortable, I want someone to share about their New Year resolution with us. If you're comfortable, let's talk New Year resolution. Before the aesthetics of vision boarding and vision mapping or whatever we call it, I remember vividly growing up, we'll go to church on the 31st, and then you have a notebook, and I'm coming, Sandra. You have a notebook, and I remember that at the back of the church notebook, I have a list of New Year resolutions or goals, whatever I want to achieve in the year. And I can tell you guys for free that I won't get back to that book until 31st of December of the following year, because I never remember to get back to it. Okay, Sandra, you want to share? What's your experience with New Year resolutions?
Hello, good morning.
Hi,
So,
Sandra.
hi. So, to me, based on my own understanding, I consider New Year resolution as part of what we are doing. Goals for the new year, vision planning, and all that. For instance, one of my goals this year coming into 2025 was to be more active, to serve more in church, which I think I like achieved that and would even like do more in 2026. So like since the beginning of December, I have gradually started reflecting on some of these domain. Although I'm learning that it's called domain today, that's not the nomenclature I would use for it. So I have gradually started reflecting on it, and even got ChatGPT to be asking me questions on it. So based on everything, I've not like come to a conclusion yet, but it's maybe today I'll bring out 30 minutes and reflect on it. I'm here to like have it complete, like have something to work with. I don't know if you understand. So
Yes.
based on it, I'll be like, oh, to this coming year, these are the things I don't want to see in my life, and these are the
Yeah.
things I want to do more. So
Yeah.
I think from my own perspective or from growing up, what I'm exposed to and all that, I consider them the same thing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think it makes sense that you say that because it seems that you put some intentionality into it even back then. So I think the difference between yourself and myself was the fact that I wasn't thinking through it. I would probably just on that day I'll go to church and then so I think that there's nothing. I always say to people, there's nothing new under the sun. All this, aesthetics and all these things that we're talking about now and manifesting and all that, they've always been, you know what I mean? But I guess now we're finding language. We're finding, just like you said, like you never knew that that was in nomenclature. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's some fancy person now doing research, writing a book that created vision mapping. I don't know. I don't know where the origin came from. But as you said, it's similar to what we're doing back in the days with intention, more intentionality. Just understanding that you can actually look at every domain or every aspect of your life. Maybe aspect is what we're used to, and just design the future or the year you want for each of them, you know, deciding right here and now or before the year starts how you want to show up in each domain. So thank you very much for sharing. I really like that. So yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. I tell you that for free. And I think it's just us finding language to things that we're already, because now we are being intentional about designing the life that we want. And so because we put all that effort into designing, we might as well name it, we might as well, put language into naming it and making it all fancy and making us feel like we put in some effort. So thank you very much for for sharing that. I really like that. So there's really nothing new under the sun. So the final part of the framework is the commit. And just like we said earlier, is the point where we started off by reflecting. We looked back at our year. We did a retro and we've identified those things that make us happy, the low moments, the high moments. And I'm hoping that if you go back after this, I'm hoping that you go back to this after this, like the next 48 hours, today, later today, tomorrow, and so that you can finalize on Monday. I hope that you can confidently say, this set of things will go with me into the new year. And these ones, I know they were beyond my control, but I'm going to do everything I can to make them stay in this year. We're not going into the new year with it. And then hopefully we've learned enough lessons from those things that we're living in this year to actually create new experiences that will enrich our lives for the new year 2026. That's what I'm hoping, because that's the whole idea of reflection and having a retro. Okay. I'm talking agile now. Sorry. For those of you that are on the call that are agilists, you kind of know what I'm talking about. That's what we do at work. So I don't want us to put ourselves under a lot of pressure by putting a laundry list of commitment. I don't know if you guys have read what's that book? Oh my goodness. I thought of it now and it just skipped my mind. Where they advise us to commit to simple, just make simple commitment. Don't make it too elaborate. Don't make it too big because there's always that tendency that you won't
Atomic
do it.
habits.
Yes, thank you. Atomic Habits. Atomic Habit. I think that everyone should read that book because it helps you reframe commitments, for example. So it's not until I say in 2026 I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Nope. You have to break it down in realistic bits so that it will seem more achievable than look like a tall order that you will actually give up on by the second or third week of the year 2026. So back to this. So I want us to create a 90-day commitment, the first 90 days of the year 2026. Those days are going to set the tone for the year we're going to have. So I want us to use this space in our workbook to think critically about our first 90 days. If you're a president of a country, they will think about your first 100 days. If you're taking a new role in an organization, I know some of us will go for interviews and the question you ask your interviewer will be like, what what should my first 90-day look like? Or you want to share with them your 90-day plan. It's always so sweet at interviews. So now we're telling you to commit to yourself. What is your 90-day plan to yourself in 2026? Remember, they say it takes 21 days to create a new habit. So imagine doing that for 21 days and another 21 days and another 21 days. That's almost 90 days. It becomes part and parcel of you. And that's how you win in the new year 2026. So I'm going to stop talking now. Think about three things, three words for 2026. What is your three words for 2026? Think about it. You can't think right now, maybe talk through it and create those three words. While we're thinking of three words for 2026, so think about, based on the domain that we've defined above, think about your top priorities for, let's prioritize your top priorities for 2026. What 1 to 3 areas feel most important to focus on this year? As I said, let's keep it simple, complicate things because it's more achievable when we do that. While we're doing that, I saw a comment by Agbaje, and that's my husband, by the way. And this is an argument we have all the time. It says, most times he has his resolution in his head. Ladies and gentlemen on the call, is it enough to have it in your head? I think there's value in writing things down and just going back to it, speaking it out to existence. You say it, you say it until your brain accepts it, and then it comes to pass. You manifest it. There has to be value in writing down things. So I'll just say that. We'll continue our conversation in the house. So we've spoken about, so there are three, we've committed to, we've we've created 3 words for 2026 for ourselves. Prioritize domains in our lives, 1 to 3. Now I want us to zoom in into January. What 3 things do you want to prioritize in the month of January? Because as I said earlier, it takes 21 days to create an habit in yourselves. What are those 3 things you want to commit to, excuse me, in January 2026? And make them as realistic as possible, make them as repeatable as possible, make them as simple, small as possible. For example, I want to commit to walking because I have a treadmill here, but somehow I just feel like working out or movement is me driving 15 minutes and going to my gym. So I'm trying to train my brain to say that, yes, that happens, but I need to use my treadmill 30 minutes a day. And while I'm on the treadmill, I can meditate, I can update my journal. There's so many things I can do in 30 minutes alongside walking on the treadmill. So nothing fancy. I'm not going to say I want to jog 5 kilometers. Nope. All I'm going to say is I want to walk 30 minutes on my treadmill every day in the evening because I go to the gym in the morning. I just want to add that to my movement activity for this year. So think about it. So Sandra, you said you were serving in your church. So think about how you served in your church and the other opportunities for service. And maybe commit to something new because that's a new experience for you. And that's definitely expanding the value, that value under that faith domain for yourself. So you might want to try that. And January is a good time to start. A lot of things are restarting. I hope this makes sense. For those of you that are following me on Instagram, I did a video a couple of weeks ago when I said something about commitment to self, like integrity to self. How we show up at work early. Like if it's 9 to 5, you'll be there before 9. If it's church too, if you're serving, for example, I serve in church too. The days I serve in church are the days I get to church early. But the other days, cover face. If you have a party, like things like that, like you show up for others, you show up in other aspects, other domains of your life. How about committing to integrity to self? We have sat down here for an hour and a half, and we've designed priorities for ourselves. We've designed everything. What is now left for us now as people? Because it's not enough to just write things down in a workbook. We now have to show integrity to self that we're going to stay committed. This which we have decided to define for ourselves for the new year 2020. And I'm saying this to myself too, because it's easy to write, but what happens next is what changes things for us all. That's the honest truth. And I did have that in my slide. Let me just share it. I want to share it here very quickly. I said, I said here, vision without action stays a dream. You guys, you know what a dream is. You just dream and then you wake up and then that's it. So we need to define small aligned steps, compound. Design your days, design your year. Start with your day, then your month. That's why we're zooming into January. And then if once we are successful with January, it gives us the confidence to design February and then March. And that's a whole quarter of 2026. And the confidence that come with designing and actually committing to and showing integrity in the first quarter will carry us into the second quarter and the third quarter. And I can bet my life that once if you gather here in 2026, maybe this time next year, the last Saturday of the month, probably somebody on this call, we will just be sharing, comparing notes on what worked, what didn't work, what we should scrap out, what we shouldn't, because we've had such a successful year just showing up for ourselves, having integrity of purpose, just showing up and committing to what we have decided, we agreed to commit to for ourselves. So I just want to put that out there, sounding like a motivational speaker, but you get what I'm trying to share here. Okay. Let me look at the workbook 1 minute. Okay, I guess the rest of it you can zoom in on it when you get home. It's just a bit of next steps. My hope is that you go through the workbook by yourself. If you have a spouse or if you have a partner, you might want to walk through it with them. You see all over social media, couples that are winning, they are sitting down and planning their year. I'm telling you, nothing comes by chance. That's why they say that luck is when opportunities meet preparation. You see someone having a stellar year, have been successful, always shining, and then you wonder why. It's because they've gotten clarity of purpose in advance. They planned, they prepared. And so when the opportunities came, those opportunities, they'll say yes to it, provided it aligns with the plan that they have put out for themselves. I know as personally as a Christian, you can never take out the value, I mean, God's factor in everything that we do because we plan, but God puts a seal on it. But still, you make God's work easier when you actually have clarity. Like you are not all over the place. God knows how to help you. God will know how to show up for you, the right way at the right time, provided you are not all over the place. So that's why it's critical for us. Yes, we have faith. We know God will do it. What's the point? After all, in 2020 that I spoke about, no one saw a pandemic coming. But it was easier for us to, painfully align with our plans because we had plans. Or I had a plan because I created a vision board. So that's what I would just charge us to do now. That let us take time after this conversation to go through the workbook with our partners, with our kids, and then just try as much as possible to fleshing it up, set those priorities straight, and commit to, sticking to it to them and just having integrity to self so that we can do the right thing for ourselves, even when no one is watching. And that's the goal here. So we've gone through the framework, we've reflected, we've clarified, we've committed, and now I'm hoping that we'll go ahead and finish things up by ourselves. But I just want to hear from you guys on the call. Do you think that this framework is valuable? And what is one thing that you'll take away from this call that you believe would add value to your 2026? What do you think? And anyone can talk. You can just raise up your hand or talk if you want. I know for a fact that there's really nothing new under the sun. What we've done now is we have intentionally just framed things in such a way that we have more clarity of purpose and we're going into a new year having reflected and just having clarity of what 2026 will look like for us. What do you guys think? No one is talking. Oh, Nika, go ahead.
Thank you so much for this. Forgive the noise in the background.
That's okay.
So for me, this is more of clarity and there's a bit of structure, especially the first part where we had to look at our camera rolls, and I never have thought of that, and I think it's really important. So it's an inward reflection of what actually I hold dear to myself and places where, because it dawned on me, certain things dawned on me, like, okay, so for me, using that as a yardstick to now plan on how to make myself better in the next year, I think it's really valuable. Before we just do vision board, this is what I want, this is what I want. But really, making a vision board has to be aligned with your personality so that you're not
Yeah,
personality is opposite and you're doing something else and you're just
yeah.
fighting a war within yourself. So for me, this has been really insightful and valuable. Thank you so
Yeah, I
much.
love that. I love that. I love that. Yes, yeah, there's always that tendency where we just want to follow everyone's doing vision board, you want to do, and then you just go straight to the end because the vision mapping is actually the end. But what happens before would actually would help you define a better map because you need to reflect, sit back and reflect upon where you are at currently, take out the weeds, and then go ahead and take the good into the new year and try to take the lessons from the current year and just better your life for the next year. So intentionality is really key, and I'm glad that you saw that in this hour that we spent together. Does anybody else want to share? Yeah, Chioma.
Hi everyone. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, for me, when you said the three words that represents your 2026, that got to me because I always prepare my vision board. I do most of the things you say, though there are so many things too that I'm going to add.
Yeah.
But the three words really spoke to me because I'll be interested in mapping out three words that fully aligns with or fits into the kind of person I want to be in 2026. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate today.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that was valuable, for you. Does anybody else want to share? So I think that I will just leave us with this. Like sometimes life is so fast, everything has really slowed down now. But interestingly, by this time next week, it's like go, go, go. If you're in the West, like North America, the kids are going back to school on the 5th. I'm on holiday. I start work on the 5th. My husband starts work on the 5th. And then it will be business as usual, from the 5th. And before you know it, it is February, Black History Month for those of the Black people in Black community. And it's March, International Women's History Month or Women's Day on the first week. And then summer. And then everything is just fast. So just having time to pause and just reflect upon the year you've had and trying to design the year you want to have through the lens of what you know, because you're not good. We know that you don't know everything. We can't predict. But just having that clarity, it makes a whole lot of difference. And what I would charge us to do now is go back to this and just, fill the workbook, create your vision board, and then keep coming back to this shit. Please don't be like me when I used to, write down New Year resolutions and then just come back to you the next year. I hope that you will come back to this workbook. Maybe you can design whatever, whatever cadence you want. You could be monthly if you want to be realistic, maybe quarterly. Some of us have quarterly conversations with our managers at work. So why don't you have conversations with yourself quarterly or twice a quarter? So whatever cadence, and that could be one of the things that you want to write down for yourself. So whatever the cadence is this is a living document. My hope is that you keep coming back to it, keep refreshing it based on your new normal, whatever is happening in your life, and so you'll always be one step ahead of life. So even when things are happening to you and you have to come back to this and tune it, you are one step ahead. Nothing is going to come to you as a surprise. So even when you're going down on your knees and praying to God for whatever situation you're going through in your life, you know exactly what that situation is and how it fits into whatever plans you had for your life for 2026. So it's a very good tool, and it's a living document, as I said. I hope that we would just stay on the habit of planning our lives and just having clarity part time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I'm so glad that we made it. Honestly, this should have started at 10. Technical issues. That's what happens when you start using a new technology and it shows you that it's the boss. But I'm not going to give up, guys. I am actually one of my goals this year, because I have so many things in my head that I want to share with a lot of people that I work with actually benefit from this wealth of wisdom that I have, my mentees, my mentors, but I have friends outside of work and I want to share. So I'm hoping that I can commit, it's one of the commitment, to at least one webinar or one call per month where we can talk, we can then dissect the different domains of, maybe the next steps is for us to dissect the different domains of our life. We can pick career next and, talk about career development plan. We talk about that a lot at work, and I have insights, and I also want to learn from you all. What are the insights you have when it comes to your career planning? And we can talk about faith too. We can talk about relationships, take it one month at a time and see how we can all learn from each other and grow together as we go into the new year 2026. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate you. I see all my friends on the call. Thanks for your support. And yeah, we'll see you the next time. Bye. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye bye, everyone. Bye. Bye, Instagram. Bye.